Oh. With the new ELyte EVO, Whyte has taken their ELyte platform and added the Bosch Performance Line SX Gen 5 drive unit, giving you full power and full torque on this lightweight platform. Stay tuned to learn a little bit about it and find out how it's performed so far in this first ride report on loamwolf.com. Let's go. Oh my God! Yeah! Yes, the brand new Whyte ELyte EVO, a Bosch CX powered e-bike that's designed to be a lightweight all-around trail ripper. It features the 85 Newton meter, 600 watt peak power, roughly 2.8 kilogram Bosch Performance Line CX drive unit instead of the original ELyte's Bosch Performance Line SX drive unit. So you get the full power and the full torque in this drive unit, but it's still powered by the same internal 400 watt hour Bosch compact tube battery. And then there's the option to run the 250 watt hour Bosch Power More range extender in there. Whyte actually recommends this as it does ensure that the motor is always able to get the correct amount of power discharging into the system to maintain full power as you ride. It would be possible that the system would start to derate a little bit if you were just running that 400 watt hour internal battery. But Whyte has ensured that with this design, the center of gravity of the bike overall isn't really affected by that range extender being fitted there. So regardless of whether you ride it or not, of course it's going to add a little bit to the overall weight of the bike, but in terms of the general handling dynamics, Whyte doesn't reckon it's going to make that big of a difference. A lot of Whyte's philosophy with this bike, at least what they've been telling us as we've been learning a little bit more from them during this first ride review kind of ride camp, is that the center of gravity was a top priority for them in the design of this bike. As such, they've not opted to tilt the motor, but instead they've run that motor nice and low in the frame in a fairly standard configuration, but with the compact tube battery nice and close to it, down low in the frame, and then that range extender nice and centrally in there, keeping everything really tightly packed close towards the bottom bracket, nicely low slung in the frame, and keeping all the weight there to overall optimize the center of gravity and then improve the ride characteristics. Sam, one of the engineers at Whyte, was able to give us a little bit of an insight into what that center of gravity means when you're out on the trail. So let's cut to what he had to say. You've highlighted a lot of work went into the development of the center of gravity of the bike and optimizing that to be as low and central as possible.
Yeah.
Why should people care about that?
It's a really important, foundational component of the design, and it basically makes the bike way more agile and stable. It just all round improve the handling. I think it's something that most brands don't seem to be paying any attention to, but it's something we've really been digging into a lot at Whyte. You know, it's right up there with geometry, suspension kinematics, suspension tunes in terms of its impact on the performance of the bike. It's all about rotational inertia basically. The lower the centre of gravity is, the less rotational inertia you have, which means you require less force to lean the bike from side to side. We would pick the front wheel up, which just means effectively you've got a lighter bike for what you have. So you've got the plantedness of having a bit more weight, you've still got that agility of a lighter bike, which just kind of all translates into a more confidence inspiring and more fun ride.
All sounds like good things, huh? As a lightweight, all-mountain kind of trail ripper, this is a 150mm travel bike. They're not offering the kind of 140 spec that they did on the ELyte original model. But yeah, 150mm travel, option to run either 29 or 27.5 in the rear with 29 up front at all times. Size range from small to extra large. This bike is essentially the same as the Whyte ELyte, except for with that CX drive unit. So, you know, everything from the geometry to the suspension kinematics, the frame construction, it's still the same carbon fiber frame that the CX unit is bolted into. Just Whyte designed the bike when they were making the ELyte to also be eventually the Whyte ELyte EVO when that Gen 5 Bosch drive unit was coming out, since they both use the same mounting. So yes, if you want to learn a little bit more about it, head to the Whyte Bikes website or to our article in the description below, where we'll cover all the nitty-gritty details. But for now, I really just wanted to focus on the ride impressions so far, as I think that's the most important bit. Whyte's going to be offering this bike in a choice of two build specs to start with, either the £10,000 or so Stagworks that we've got here, or the slightly more modest RS build, which will be roughly around about the £7,000 mark, but we'll be confirming that before that video and the article gets released. Certainly this is a fully decked out build that I've been testing here so far, whereas the RS is a little bit more modest, just to keep that price tag down and make it more achievable for more riders. But anyway, that's enough about the Whyte ELyte EVO. We're going to really just focus on the ride impressions for this video. If you do want to learn a little bit more, head to the description below. And for now, let's talk about the most important thing, how it rides out on the trails. My testing so far has amounted to a single day, fully emptying the battery and the range extender around the Forest of Dean trails in England. Certainly this has been an ideal testing ground to push the limits a little bit of the new ELyte EVO and really get a feel for how it performs. Plenty of corners, plenty of nice rough sections and a few big sends along the way, just to get a really good feeling overall for the capabilities both up and down the hill of Whyte's new e-bike. Talking about uphill performance, and the new Bosch Performance Line SX Gen 5 system is a very solid performer. Really the refinement that Bosch has managed to add to the new system compared to the Gen 4 is so notable, both up and down the hill. The power is better in terms of how it's delivered, more controlled. The noise overall is a lot quieter, especially on the way down the hill where there's no rattle and the whole bike just feels that little bit more dialed overall. And yeah, it's certainly a solid performer. I was interested to see how the power would feel with the 400 watt-hour battery, the compact tube, instead of the typical 600 and 800 watt-hour batteries that you'd be expecting to see on this system. Of course, with that power more range extender adding into the overall capacity. And the range has been pretty decent. We did a 25 kilometer ride and 1,250 meters of vert. Before I fully emptied its battery, I was pretty much exclusively using EMTB and turbo. I wasn't trying to conserve battery at all, and the conditions are pretty slow going right now, which definitely wouldn't have helped. I'm also 100 kilos, so when you combine all of these factors for that 650 watt-hour total capacity, it certainly seems like reasonable range in my eyes. And in the couple of hours that we were riding, I felt like I got a pretty good fix for descending time. Of course, you could always have a second power more range extender to extend your rides that little bit further, but if you are looking to go much further than that in higher power modes, then it'll be worth making sure that you get a bigger capacity battery on a different bike. In terms of the power delivery, there was no problems with getting the full power of the system in the turbo mode. Certainly there didn't feel to be any derating or anything going on with that smaller battery capacity, which is great to see. Whyte does recommend that you use it with the power more range extender, as I do believe the 400 watt-hour battery may start to restrict the amount of power that you'll be able to get out of the system. I think it's just purely an energy flow and battery cell cooling issue. So yeah, pure physics you're working with there. So if you are looking to get the full power out of the system for longer climbs, you'll definitely want to use that power more range extender with it. But yeah, certainly no problems with power. I did find that the e-mountain bike mode was a little bit on the slower side compared to some. That could purely be a tuning thing. I didn't manage to get onto the Bosch Flow app to check. The Bosch unit is a solid performer, and the bike around it is really solid as well. It's a really nicely put together bike for climbing. The rear end length is kind of in a good balanced spot where you still get enough agility to pop the front wheel up for technical maneuvers. There's a nice centralized seating position, keeping you upright, and even on the steepest bits of climb, you don't have to manage the balance of the bike too much. It yeah, certainly puts you in a good spot. And then the climbing platform is good. It's certainly on the slightly firmer side than many, which helps to, of course, extend the efficiency of the range that you get out of the system. It can lead to a little bit of less comfort through the saddle at times, but it's by no means a horrible, super firm climber. Moving on to the way down the hill, and I was really interested to see what the difference of this bike would be compared to the ELyte that I had quite a lot of time on earlier in the year. This is, in this Stagworks configuration as I've had it spec'd, a mullet setup, a mixed wheel setup, whereas the ELyte that I rode previously was full 29er. So of course that changes the dynamics of the bike a little bit. Of course, Whyte does have the lit shock link, which you change to try and retain the geometry, and it keeps most of the numbers fairly close to each other regardless of what wheel size. But there's no getting away from the fact that the rear axle drops a little bit with that 27.5-inch rear wheel, and the overall handling does change a little bit as a result. But with that CX drive unit, you know, you do have the extra weight of the system. You've got about 0.8 of a kilo added to the overall weight of the bike, but you don't feel it that much out on the trail. It's in the best possible place to have weight in between your feet, you know, in terms of the whole center of gravity torque that Whyte's been pushing. And then just, yeah, having that weight concentrated between your feet just means that you, don't really feel it that much. It's only if you're lifting the whole bike in like a bunny hop maneuver or trying to really boost something that you're going to begin to feel that slight penalty of weight. Otherwise, this is very much the same descending bike as the Whyte ELyte was with that SX system, and that's a really good thing because it's a solid all-rounder. Definitely not a full-on enduro bike, but you can push it pretty damn hard before it starts to kind of make you question whether you're on the right bike for the terrain. And then it's just really nicely well-mannered. Overall, it's balanced. It's not super poppy and playful, but it's not just a plow machine either. It sits in a really nice spot where you can pop and play a little bit, or just hang on and try and go for a more speed-focused approach. You can work the terrain nicely for speed, dart in and out of corners really well, especially in this mullet configuration. It does feel like it really tips into corners well. And yeah, it's just a really nice all-around trail bike. It's not going to be the bike for people looking to attack the roughest and gnarliest terrain exclusively, but for a bike for the UK, for example, where one day you might want to take it to, somewhere pretty rough and rowdy and really go attacking, and another day take it to a trail centre, it's going to sit in that middle spot where you're going to be happy most of the time, and you're never going to really feel too over or undergunned, I don't think. Overall, the new Whyte ELyte EVO seems like a solid bike. It has only been a first ride impression so far, but I'm excited to get one of these in for the long term to see how it performs. So be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that in the coming months, as well as many other awesome reviews. Be sure to give us a like and leave us a comment. If you have any questions on this bike or any comments that you may want to make about it, is this philosophy with the smaller battery, the kind of almost necessity of the Power More range extender plus the full power drive unit, something that speaks to you? Does it make sense? Let us know. And also, please do consider subscribing to our members only channel, where we're going to be pushing out a bunch of members only content, as well as giving you the opportunity to join us as guest testers and many other awesome things. So do head on to our members only section and consider subscribing to that if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to catch you out on the trails.